Hello, this video is about the value chain. So we've talked about the value chain, but how much have we really talked about the analysis of the value chain? That's what we're getting ready to get into. So when we speak about the value chain, let's first discuss what is the definition of the value chain. So the definition of the value chain is the sequence of activities that a firm performs when it designs, produces, sells, delivers, and supports its products. The value chain is a collection of all the value creating and cost generating activities that the firm performs. And it is these activities that are actually the basic units of competitive advantage. So our value chain contains primary activities and support activities. So when we think of our primary activities, what are they? They're inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and service. And then our support, which are secondary activities, but nonetheless as important. They're the firm infrastructure, HR management, technology development, and procurement. So when we think of our primary activities, what do we think? So again, inbound logistics is anything that is scheduling, it's shipping, it's warehouse management, it's anything that is due to acquiring the resources, the raw materials, the components that we require for processing if we are creating a product. It is quality control, it's receiving, it's raw materials control. When we think of operations, operations is anything that is involved with transforming those primary materials, those raw materials, those components into an output. What is our final component? Whether we are selling a finished product to another company or if we are selling a component that will be used to create the finished product for the other company. So operations is anything that is involved with transformation. So it is all aspects of manufacturing, product configuration, assembly, packaging, production control, quality control, maintenance, preventive maintenance, anything that is involved with transformation of those raw materials. Then when we think of outbound logistics, what is that? It is anything that is involved with the distribution of goods. So anything that involved with order processing, order fulfillment, delivery to the end customer or to the channel of those finished goods. Also involved with invoicing and payments. Then we have marketing and sales. And so marketing and sales are anything that is related to communication of the product's benefits to the customer. So it can be websites, catalogs, it can be tailored marketing based upon a customer's values. It can be brand building. It's any type of promotions. It's anything looking at customer feedback. It's any customer management or account management, sales analysis, market research. Then when we look at service, what is service? Service is anything that involves or includes after sales support. So it's that customer support. Again, those websites, the phones, the letters, any returns of merchandise, any return of money. So any warranties, any end user training, any upgrades of product version. It's customer relationship management, so account management. So when you think of effective account management, what does that do for you? It helps you learn the customer's preferences, desires, and it helps you to generate more sales. It helps you to increase switching costs. It helps to build your brand image and increase your competitive advantage. Then when we look at support activities, our first one is that firm infrastructure, which we spoke about last week. So it's anything with your company's ERP, for example. It's anything that allows you to report and to understand, to be able to make business decisions. It's anything related to legal, accounting, planning, financial management, any type of stakeholder relations, any government or public affairs or community relationships. So when we think of HR management, it's any type of personnel and benefits administration, any type of training to support those primary activities there, inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing, sales, or service. As well, HR management includes any type of time and expense reporting, any type of recruitment, any type of staff planning, any type of labor relations. Then when we speak of technology development, what is that? It's anything that is involved with product design or process design. It is that interface between research and development and sales and service. It's the production engineering, that market testing and analysis. And then finally, when we speak of procurement, what do we mean by that? Is anything that is involved with purchasing. It's anything that is inventory. It is anything that is customer. It also helps with customer relationship management in that it's supplier relationship management. It's funding, subcontracting, any type of raw materials specification. When we look at why should we study the value chain, studying that value chain allows us to think of each activity not just as a cost, which is what most people do, but to think of it as where can we add value? At what step can we add value? In each step that we can add value along the way. And so it allows us to break out the process into individual pieces that allow us to analyze each of those individual pieces. So analyzing those pieces, what are some of the other things that it can do for us? It can help us make logical choices when we decide on any type of horizontal integration or vertical integration. It's looking, where is our value chain strong? Where can we leverage those strong links? What other industries or products or processes or technologies could we benefit from? What could we incorporate from those other products into our value chain? How could we identify economies of scale to improve our fit of our value chain and thus reduce our cost drivers? And so when we look at the strengths of a possible merger or acquisition, which we'll talk about later, where does that merger or acquisition fit into our value chain? Is it increasing the fit? Is it improving the fit? Is it increasing the strength of our value chain or not? So can we identify areas for outsourcing of our value chain for where we are not as strong in our value chain, but we need to be aware of what is the structure of our value chain, what is the fit of our value chain. And so that structure and fit helps us to determine what are our strengths and weaknesses. And actually understanding our value chain is actually much more important than doing a SWOT analysis. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. If we understand what that value chain is fully, then that is a much better way of understanding what are the cost drivers, what are the price drivers for our products. So our value chain helps us to understand our structural drivers, which can be scale, scope, and technology, as well as executional drivers, which are plant layout, capacity, utilization, product configuration. It helps us to understand what is our transformational process and helps us to understand our activity-based costing. So when we look at our value chain, each of those links should begin with a verb. So that helps us to understand that this is not only is it one long process, each of those little pieces are as well a process that can be reviewed. So disaggregation of value chain, what is the reason to disaggregate the value chain. Again, it is to understand the importance of each individual particular activity, to look at the cost driver, to look at the price driver. So the cost driver for the activity is what is affecting the cost. What is the structural determinant of the cost of that particular activity? So that understanding why that particular activity costs what it does. One of the things that we can do again is look at economies of scale. So how can we make that per unit cost for that particular activity to be lower? But as well, we want to look at our price drivers. And so what are the price drivers? It is any part there that will affect the customer value. How does the customer value our particular product? And so what do those pieces, what are those particular pieces? So when we think of price drivers, think of those things that appeal to the senses. Is it Egyptian cotton versus Alabama cotton, where I'm from? Is it Bavarian crystal? Is it Wedgwood, that 24% lead crystal? When I was a kid growing up, when all the girls were getting married and they had their showers, they wanted that Wedgwood crystal. So the price drivers are those items that influence the customer to pay more. So we think of packaging, for example. How many of y'all have seen those YouTube videos where they are unpackaging a particular item? So they're looking at how well it's packaged, how easy is it to be unpackaged, what does it look like as you're doing it? How do you feel about it? Is it a luxury feel, or is it just a bunch of tape and bubble wrap? So those are items that actually play a part into our price drivers. And then as well, that disaggregation helps us to understand what should be outsourced. So similar to our previous slide, understanding or analyzing the value chain, we should not forget to identify those links, that space in between the chain. So understanding what is it that's holding those links together and helping us, again, to reduce those costs at each step, and to identify where we can increase the value, so those price drivers at each step. So what are some of the things that we can do with that? We look at our each particular item, and we determine where we can go, what we can do for each of those items. And then here is a graphic of Porter's value chain. So we see our inbound logistics. So we see our primary activities down at the bottom. We see our support activities, or our secondary activities, that are at the top. So again, our primary activities: inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, sales and marketing, servicing. So these are examples. Quality control for inbound logistics. Operations, anything that is transformational. Outbound, anything that is allowing you to distribute, to get that product to the customer. But again, let us not forget that our support activities are as important. What are those back office activities? So anything that is admin, HR, any type of product and technology development. And then finally, our procurement. Here's just another way of looking at this, what Michael Porter says about our value chain. So y'all have a look at that in this video, and understand what Porter is saying. Porter is the one who came up with the value chain. So these are just some examples of what Porter has for us when speaking about the value chain. Then after looking at Porter, if we want to take an example, here is our example. Our last page is Apple's value chain. So Apple's value chain is sourcing, manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, returns. And so where do they source from? US, China, other Asian countries, and Europe. Where is the manufacturing taking place? It's taking place in China. So the cost there to manufacture, the skills there to manufacture, all of those coming together make China the place to manufacture those goods for Apple. And then the warehousing, warehousing, there are various intermediate warehouses. There's a huge warehouse facility in Elk Grove. And then from our distribution, how does that go? Retail stores, direct sales, wholesalers, networks, so Best Buy, for example, or the Apple Store. And then as well, Apple has that after sales service, so that returns, so warranty, trade-ins, recycling, reuse programs. So that is an example of Apple's primary activities.